Hello everyone. Welcome to the first session of Ethics Marks Improvement Program. Before going into our subject matter, let me give you a broad idea on what exactly or how exactly are we going to approach GS paper 4, Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude. So the whole structure of the program, what is the clear objective? The objective is proper management of ethics, from preparation to revision to value addition to answer writing to exam, how to manage the 3 hours during this examination. So a complete plan starting right from June till the day you write GS paper 4. A complete plan is devised under Ethics Marks Improvement Program. Let me give you a fair idea onto what are different aspects or how we are going, different stages on which we are going to approach the paper. First part, the content is the king, as you can see here. This is the most important part. If you look at the 2023 ethics or for say mains in any paper, you can see this differentiation coming. You can see the nature of questions being asked. Most of the questions are directly picked from the syllabus. Most of the questions have direct correlations. You look at the case studies, especially in ethics, there are certain recurring themes which are continuously being asked. You look at the section A questions, a lot of themes like emotional intelligence, values, questions are continuously being repeated. Even quotes are being repeated. You might remember the quote by APJ Abdul Kalam asked last year. This has been asked previously. Buddha, the contributions of Buddha, continuously recurring topic. Quotes by Socrates, Aristotle, value ethics, continuously asked by UPSC. And if a question is coming from administrative ethics, there are certain patterns you should keep in your mind. And this should guide your preparation. And this everything comes under the first stage, that is preparing your content. It can be from your notes. If you might have already attended some kind of classes, you might have already made some kind of notes regarding ethics. We will talk in detail about this because this lecture is itself a part of this content preparation of ethics. The second part I need all of you to focus on is the answer writing or answer development, as you can see here. Why we are calling it answer development? Again, answer writing, this is obviously an integral part of mains preparation. Any student who are going to write mains this year, answer writing is unavoidable part of their preparation. But there is a lot of misconception, a lot of confusion existing. How to practice answer writing? What should I exactly do in answer writing? Should I sit and write for 3 years, 3 hours? Or should I write 1 or 2 questions per day? Which one is giving me best results or optimum results? Or how much test I should write? How should I proceed with this answer writing? So in ethics also, ethics makes things a little bit more complex, as you might already know. Ethics answers are not simply about preparing, reading some books, preparing some XYZ notes and replicating it in the exam paper. This paper has some abstractness. You might be already aware this paper not just check your knowledge level, it very much checks your way of thinking, your way of decision making. That is also being under, you can say, scanner when you're writing GS paper 4. Now if you want to address this part, if you want to address the abstractness of GS paper 4, you need to bring something beyond what is provided in standard textbooks or say standard coaching institute materials that is all available to you. Ethics answers will fetch you above average marks only if you can bring your own thought process into these answers, your own examples into these answers. And many a times I have seen students limiting their ethics preparation to preparing certain definitions, preparing certain examples. I'm guaranteeing you, ethics is not about preparing examples. Examples are only one part of your answer. It's only a substantiating part of your answer. The core of your answer should be developing ethical arguments. And marks is given for these arguments. Marks is given for justifications you provide for various aspects, various stance you are taking in this paper. Now, if you don't know how to bring ethical arguments in your paper, how much correct example, how much wonderful example you write in the paper, you are not going to fetch above average marks. You are not going to cross the barriers of 90s, say 100s, beyond that. Now, what we can do for this? This is what we are going into learn in this answer development. How we will approach this answer development for every part of the syllabus. We discuss what can be your brainstorming approach. For example, questions come from values. What should be your thought process? A question comes from public administration. What should be your thought process? A question comes from corporate governance. Like last time we had a question on efficiency versus, you can say, morality. Comparing these in corporate governance, what should be your approach to these questions? We have evolved a 12 frameworks, mental frameworks, which applies to every part of the ethics syllabus. And by applying these frameworks, the whole act of brainstorming becomes cakewalk. You simply want to fit what is the right substantiation elements to all of these. You already know how to think. There is this thumb rule generating 10 points for every 10 markers. So you can see, we will see some demonstration within this class. We can see some demonstration when we execute this through workshop sessions. You can see this generating 10 points for one question. The whole act of doing this becomes extremely easy if you have a clear framework on how I should think on these particular topics. On this syllabus topic, a question comes, what should be my mental thought process? That is how we are going to do this answer brainstorming sessions. And we have developed a set piece approach for quotation based questions. Similarly, for case studies, what is the approach is, we have identified around 14 themes, like compensation, like seniors not obeying, like issues in private sector, like environmental issues. Similarly, there are recurring themes on which continuously questions are coming. We have identified 14 themes, and we will learn what is the ideal answer for this kind of conflicts. What should be the ethical arguments you should keep in mind? What should be the basic legal aspects, basic other factual information you should know to smartly answer this case study? What should be the XYZ, like right option to take in this particular case? And what can be the justification you can provide? And if you study systematically these 14 different themes, case studies based on these 14 different themes, I'm pretty much sure that you'll be very confident to answer any of the case studies or any of the conflict that is coming in your original ethics paper. This is all about answer writing. It's give you a very clear approach to how to proceed, how to think before writing your answers in every part of your ethics paper, whether it is section A, whether it is quotation based question, whether it is case studies. This we will be implementing through workshops. We will be having 6 workshop sessions where we will discuss all the different strategies you can use for answer writing. Similarly, we have an exam management. That is the final layer of this. What do I mean by exam management? See, you have, how many of you have gone through the 2023 paper? Actually, when I seen the paper just after last May, it was quite relaxing to see the paper. It was much more direct than what I have seen in 2022. You see the case studies of 2023. It was much shorter. I don't need to read 2000 or 2200 words simply to understand the question. Now, as a student perspective, this is bringing in a lot of challenge. How you should manage time in 2022, how you should manage the time in 2023. There are differences. We have seen students in 2022 who scored 134 marks, which is by the standards of that year, an absolutely good marks. And what she have done is, she have scored this paper was lengthy. This, even if you look 2024 paper, 22 paper, section A question, it was very difficult to understand which part of the syllabus the question is. There were interlinkages, there were complexities even in understanding the questions. When it comes to case studies, most of the case studies, even though it was based on previously asked themes, they were not easy. They were having unnecessary twists, turns, making it more and more lengthy. So understanding the paper itself takes some time. The whole challenge in 2022 paper was completing the paper. You might ask any of your friends who are given the 2022 mains, completing ethics paper was a very big challenge. And somebody who has achieved this task of completing the paper decently, they have been greatly rewarded in that year. You might have remembered, even if you write very average answer, but you have written it for every questions, you will score very good marks. On the other hand, come to 2023, here the questions are more direct. In one reading, you will actually understand which part of the syllabus this is being asked, what exactly is the demand of the question. You look at the case studies, most of the case studies are shorter ones. So this take away the element of pressure of completing the paper. Now what it demands is having quality arguments, having quality introduction, quality conclusion. All this matters too much in 2023 paper. It will be very hard to find somebody who has not written some question and scoring good marks in 2023. Or who might have mismanaged the time. I have seen students spending 2 hours on case studies or 2 hours on section A and still managing the other section of the paper in 1 hour. Now what happens is, even if you complete the paper in 1 hour, it becomes a very tedious task. It becomes nearly impossible to maintain the quality. If you mismanage the time, what you many times miss is not missing out completing the paper. You will miss out is to bring the quality answers into the paper, because you don't have time to think, you don't have time to process. You are simply reading the questions, whatever comes to your mind, you are dumping into it. So it's very important to have some kind of practical strategies before going into exam hall. What kind of paper comes in 2024? We are not somebody to predict that. Sometimes a lengthy paper can come, sometimes complex paper can come, sometimes a very easy paper can come. Whatever is the spectrum the questions are coming, you should have some practical approaches. So this we will be taking up in this exam management. These are the 3 approaches under which we are planning this whole ethics course. About content, obviously I will be speaking more in the next slide. So 3 stages of ethics preparation we have discussed here, from content development to answer development to exam management. Going ahead, I know you have so much or have this confusion, how we are going to manage the content or how we are going to prepare the content. So there are a few things we might have seen, I have already speaking about this. We already have these MIP sessions, 20-hour MIP sessions. These sessions will broadly cover each and every part of your syllabus comprehensively. And again saying, I will not be covering this from perspective of doing it for a foundation batch. I already assume that you know basics of ethics. You have read some books, or you have attended some classes, or you have at least once you have prepared this ethics syllabus. From these are revision like classes. These are classes which are focused on what exactly you can bring into this answer writing, how you can enrich your answers. Whatever I am speaking in these classes, that will be only with one motto, that is how you can bring these elements also into your answer writing. With this objective, we have these 20-hour sessions. Going ahead, every class will be accompanied with ethics workbooks. I have seen lot of students spending huge amount of times in making notes, and they will not complete the syllabus. They will do it for some part. They will not be in an order. And at the end of the day, it becomes a very difficult task even to manage the notes you have made. Let me just outsource or take out all these troubles. With these classes, with every class, you will be getting an ethic workbook. When you are attending the class, I want you to take the printout, or if you are doing it digitally, keep these in front of you. I want you to attend the classes with these ethics workbooks. It brings a skeleton of every argument, every basic terms, definitions, keywords, everything we are discussing gives a skeletal picture of this. And you might have seen the half side of these notes are completely free, or you can say this open space is there. And why I have left this open space? Again, I am coming back to this ethics paper. This paper you cannot prepare by simply reading some textbooks or simply attending some classes or simply learning some XYZ things. You cannot score an above average marks in ethics. What you need to bring in is your personalization. You need to connect yourself, your acts, whatever you have done, whatever you have thinking, whatever XYZ you are going through. You need to connect these elements of your personality, what you're reading, what you're watching, what you are going through. All these elements, when you bring into this answer writing, when you bring all these your personality into what you write in these 3 hours, then your answer looks unique. Then your answer looks extraordinary. That is the tool you have to score, say, 140 marks or say 135 marks in ethics. Otherwise, it's always, everyone studies the same material. Any XYZ institute material to take, every XYZ student have access to the same PDF, same printouts. So there is no element of uniqueness. There is no element of standing out. So if your preparation is not having this element, how your marks can have this standout preparation? So what I need you to do is, when you are attending the class, attend the class with the workbooks in your hand. Whatever we are discussing, when you find that this is not in the workbook, just add to it. You don't need to take note everything I'm speaking or everything coming in the slides into your notes. Already there is a skeletal picture given. Just add whatever new information into this. Now after the class, what to do? I want you to extend this. I want you to continue this process. That means I want you to have these workbooks as a reference books with you. Whatever you are doing, suppose you have reading newspapers, you got something that is related to ethics, some part of the syllabus, something related to emotional intelligence, you have seen some news, or some corruption, you have seen some news. Just add on to this. Add in these workbooks, the separate sections given in this workbook, add into it. Same goes with everything. Whether you are studying history, you read about Akbar, you read about Aurangzeb, you read about Ashoka the Great, you read about Shivaji Maharaj. So there are some ethical aspects related to all of this. So add these into this. You read about Buddha, add into it. You read society, you speak about caste discrimination, we speak about gender discrimination, we speak about regionalism. There are ethical aspects related to this. Add 1-2 examples, 1-2 aspects, 1-2 points into your ethics note. Same do with polity, same do with international relations. So much war, conflicts is already happening in the world. There is a lot of ethical arguments in all of these. Same do with economy. You have already seen questions on capitalism, on market economy. What is the ethics of market economy? What is the ethical role of government in present state? Whether it should be a regulator, whether it should, or is it going into a paternalistic attitude? A lot of editorials are coming from these aspects. Add few words. Science and technology, AI washing, artificial intelligence, ethical issues related to this. Add these into your notes. Similarly with internal security. So, I mean, optional also. You think about a very critical idea, whatever your optional is. I'm not saying those two are optional is mathematics also. If you are optionally something related to this, like sociology, or any other social subjects, you will get some ethical aspects. Just keep adding these into your workbooks. Just do this exercise continuously. Even if you are adding 1 or 2 points per day, that is enough. But keep this in your hand and continuously add 2 points per day, 2 examples per day, 2 arguments per day, 2 scholars per day. That is all I expect. And by September, I guarantee you, you will be having a great collection of notes that is incomparable to any other compilation of examples of any other XYZ ethics compilation you are available in the market. Even we will launch our own compilation MIP ethics booklet. But I'm saying if you have done this exercise, this is what that is going to propel your marks. This is what that is going to reflect in your answers, not the compilation we provide or any other institute provides to you. This is how we're going to plan our content. There are a few aspects to this. We have a 20-hour lecture sessions. Then we have these ethics workbooks, which should be continuously updated for next 3 months. And we have this will end up in a personal note development. And this is what is going to fetch you or bring uniqueness into your answers, ethics answers. So that is a whole picture. Now, let me talk about whatever strategies I'm speaking today. These are not something hypothetical strategies. We have seen a lot of toppers last year who have gained benefits out of this. You can see Pragyananthan Giri, who scored rank 24 this year. You can see the testimonials of Harneet Singh, who have improved 20 to 23 marks this year in ethics. He scored 125 marks this year from 100 marks last 2022 mains by following these strategies. And many of our strategies we are discussing, these have been evolved after discussion with P. Shravan Kumar, who scored above 140 marks in 2022 ethics paper. So this is the overall construct. Whatever I'm speaking, what are strategies we are discussing, these are not hypothetical opinions. These are practical strategies which students have applied and significantly boosted their ethics marks. And let me give you some disclaimers. Sometimes you may be feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes you may be feeling that how I can implement all of these into my paper. But what I want to say is have some patience. These are not rocket science compared to whatever you are learning already. These are very simple strategies. Give yourself a little bit of space. There is a steep learning curve. It will feel overwhelming at the beginning. Your only focus is trust the process and give yourself complete into implementing these strategies in answer writing. If you're not bringing these into answer writing, it is not just this material, these classes or whatever you are doing. If you're not bringing those into answers you are writing, these are not going to help. So this should not happen. You should focus your energies on whatever we are discussing, try to bring into the answers as much as possible. If you got a paper, 19 questions are there, if you can implement these only for say 10 questions, 8 questions, that is an absolute fine. But try yourself to strive better. What syllabus you are not able to apply this? What are the strategies I can do? Think yourself. I'm just giving you a broad picture. It is to build the tree or to build the structure out of it that you should focus on. Secondly, many you might in your this portal you can get an ethics master sheet. So what this is all about is last 11 years paper, ethics paper. We have divided it segregated under different syllabus heads. So whatever we are discussing, even in today's class, you can say we are discussing a lot of previous year questions. So our classes will be strictly based on PYQs. PYQs are our references, nothing else. And due to this, you can see many of our approaches are different. Many of our themes are giving a lot of higher importance. A lot of other themes are not giving that much importance. Now, don't come and ask me why, sir. If you want to understand why, go and see this ethics master sheet. Where there is more questions coming, we have stressed over, we have given more stress to this, more time to this, more content to this, more arguments to this. Where there is not continuously questions being asked, there may be lesser weightage given to this. This is a little bit of internal optimization we have done for this course. Secondly, about the note making, which I have, I guess, already discussed in detail. This is the overall construct of the course. On this note, let's go into ethics preparation. What are we going to learn today? What are we learning today? What is ethics? Now we will see, I have spoken so much about how to bring different elements of uniqueness, your own personality, your own personalization into this ethics preparation. So we will have a broad note. We will see the ethics from different perspectives, how you can bring ethics or take ethics from every X or Y activities that is going on in our day-to-day life. So all this we will have a fair discussion. Then we will compare ethics with lot of other subjects like ethics and morality. There are there is an approach to building answers. Building answers is more or less like building a tree. So building a tree, you can see what is all that is important. There is a main trunk, there are some branches. Now there are internal branchings to this. And it is on these branchings you will be having leaves, you will be having fruits. So this is how we also think about answer development. Answer development is also very much about like a tree. There should be a trunk. What should be the trunk? Trunk should be the conceptual clarity. When I ask you what is difference between ethics and what is difference between ethics and law or ethics or morality or ethics or religion or per se ethics or any other subject, you should be having a clear perspective on what is making these two different. Where is the point of differentiation? Where is this element of separation coming? There should not be any doubt within you. This is the trunk, that is the conceptual clarity. This is same for every other part of the syllabus. Now, when we come to answer writing, we need multidimensional answers. We need points to be taken from different aspects. So you should know how this branching is done. Branching is from your answer framework. Branching comes from your answer frameworks, how you should apply a thought process to this. Then the leaves, you see, that is the examples, that is the substantiation you provide. These are three levels you should think on preparing a content. So we will have a discussion on the concepts, the branching, what should be the thought process, what can be the examples, what can be the arguments you can bring in comparison, all of this. Then we will see some of the questions, previously asked questions from this side. Now the second part of the syllabus that we are going to discuss today, that is what makes an act ethical. Now ethical frameworks from virtue ethics, deontology, utilitarianism. We will discuss ideas of Socrates, Aristotle, Immanuel Kant, Jeremy Bentham. Then we will discuss different other theories like John Rawls' theory of justice, rights-based approach, and Amartya Sen's capability approach. Now again, I have seen a lot of notes, you can see lectures which overly emphasize these theories, these scholars. What we need to pick, I'm not saying that's bad or something like that, but if you look at the previous year questions, where are the questions coming? Questions come as quotations. Questions hardly comes as direct theories. We got in 2016, we got one question on John Rawls' theory of justice. Hardly you will get a question on what is utilitarianism or what is virtue ethics. But obviously 100% sure you will get, there is high chance for getting a question that give you a quote that explains utilitarianism. You will get a quote that explains this virtue ethics. Then you have to analyze the quote, or you have to bring in what does the quote mean to you, all these kind of questions. These are the most recurrently asked questions. So our discussion will not be giving too much of intellectual thought into different theories. Our approach will be, we will understand the theory for its sake, like to understand a broad picture, we will understand each of these theories. Then we will take on different ideas which is discussed by Socrates, which is key ideas of Aristotle, key ideas of Immanuel Kant. We take their quotations, we take their wordings, then we try to decode it, then we try to understand it. This is how we build our content for ethical frameworks. As such, our objective is not to overstudy any of these ethical theories. So this is already a brief idea on what we are going to learn in this class. Let's get started. The first question for the day. Give me a second. Yeah, what is ethics? Very fundamental question, sometimes the most fundamental question with respect to GS paper 4, ethics, integrity and aptitude. Definition of ethics, again, it can be looked upon from different perspectives. It depends on what exactly are you looking at, not just for ethics, for per se any subject. Defining a subject, defining particular bounds of the subject depends so much on the context. So ethics also depends on a lot of other factors. One of the most simple definitions of ethics. Ethics is a study of human conduct from the perspective of rightfulness and wrongfulness. So human conduct we are going to study. And in human conduct, what we are going to look, what is the right conduct, what is the wrong conduct. Now human conduct means this is something too broad. You might think about the evolution of humanity when we were hunters and gatherers to the time when we have artificial intelligence, to the time we have these interplanetary travels. We are planning about shifting to Venus. All these ideas are being, there is a probability of getting practical. So what took us from hunter-gatherers to this? Everything we have done, everything we have even thought come under the definition of human conduct. Now what we are trying to do is we are trying to apply and to make a judgment here. What sort of judgment? We are going to make a judgment on what conduct is of these is right, what conduct of all of these is wrong. Let me more simplify it. Let me go in a very simple definitions, or you can see the textbook definitions, several textbook examples that are provided. Let me take a very practical example. Suppose you, after the class, you walk down the street in Karol Bagh or somewhere else. You find a valet with good amount of money. Obviously, you are a student, you are on less money, you little more cash, you can buy some XYZ other course, or you can spend a little bit on something which you always wanted, or you can have some luxury, obviously. Or you can try make an attempt to find the person and return the purse, or you can follow the law, found something in the street, you as a responsible citizen, you will be returning it to the nearest police station. Now of all of these, what is the right conduct? Now I know all of you very smart guys, all of you will be doing the very right thing, that is returning the purse to this XYZ person. Now take these two different cases. I have recently seen Irfan Khan, the actor who passed away last year, I guess. He made a revelation lately that he got admission into different universities, some universities in England, I guess, for his acting. Now he got this admission by submitting fake certificates. Now if you look at the social response to this particular comment which made by Irfan Khan, you can see a lot of people saying that thank God they didn't find out this first certificates are fake at that time. If they had found, we might have lost one of the finest actor. So what is the conclusion of all of this? Obviously, I say submitting fake certificates, this is a wrong thing. This is not just wrong, you can end up in jail, it is criminal activity. Even IAS officers have lost their jobs by doing this. But if you look at the case of Irfan Khan, people are trying to change, or people are ready to accept that whatever happened is good, a right thing, not a bad thing, or not a wrong thing. And why it is so? So this is what ethics is all about. On a very fundamental note, we have so many questions in our own life where it is very easy to recognize what is right, what is wrong. On the other hand, we are handling a lot of dilemmas in our day-to-day life, which poses significant question to us, which challenges us, or we are absolutely find it difficult to understand what is the right thing to do at many situations. So this is the whole, you can see the abstractness of ethics. Very simple example, it's all around us. How many of you do littering? How many of you do think that littering in the streets is a wrong act or wrongful act? I know every one of you will raise your hands. Obviously, littering is a very wrongful act. You go to the streets of Karol Bagh, just about every corner you will find litter. Every corner you will find these sweets, these peppers, that peppers thrown carelessly. Now, every one of you are ready to understand, ready to accept that littering is not right. But still we find this as a very, very common practice. Take the case of traffic signals. How many of you think that following traffic signals is the right thing? There is no iota of doubt in this. Absolutely right thing. Maybe you will take this as a universal principle. Now you travel through the streets of Delhi. You will see the level of chaos there. People are driving on opposite side. People are not caring about the signals. People are coming from here, wherever there's a gap there, will take their vehicle there. Now, this is what we do. While we clearly know what is the law or what is exactly happening or what is the right thing to do. So, why this is happening? Yeah, so here comes. Ethics is a set of standards that a society places on itself and which helps guide our behavior, choices and actions. So, irrespective of what we are doing, that is whether we are violating the traffic signals or we are littering on the streets, what ethics provide you is a set of standards. That is, don't do litter, it's not a right act, or don't violate the traffic signal, it's not a right act. This sense of righteousness, this sense of if you are doing something wrong like cheating in the examination, you might feel guilty. Now this guilty, where it is coming from? Because you are violating a certain set of standards that is already existing in our society. Now, this is also a part of ethics. Ethics is not just about the study of human conduct. Ethics is also about the standards we set for ourselves. As an individual, as a society, as a humanity. The set of standards we put for ourselves. That is also comes under this domain of ethics. Another definition of ethics. Ethics as a philosophical discipline. Ethics is study of values and guidelines that guide our action. So again, the first one, you studied ethics is a study of human conduct, where we will look at the human conduct from a judgmental perspective. What is the judgment we are going to make? That is, what is the right thing, what is the wrong thing. From this definition, we have moved on to ethics is a set of standards. What is righteousness? A standards of righteousness we put on ourselves. You can see the standards everywhere. You got selection into this. There is public service. You have a code of ethics. You are a doctor, you have a Hippocratic oath before you. You have a code of ethics in every profession. So these standards that a society shall upholds, that guides our action, this also comes under definition of ethics. And as a philosophical discipline, what these standards are made of. These standards, the basis of the standard can be boiled down to honesty, boiled down to transparency, trustworthiness. So these fundamentals of the standards are the values we believe in. So ethics is also a study of values and guidelines that guide our action. So we got three definitions of ethics. Ethics is a study of human conduct from the point of view of righteousness or wrongfulness. Ethics is a set of standards that a society places on itself. Now, where does the standards comes from? The standards come from the values we believe in. So ethics is also a study of values and guidelines that guides our actions. So this is, you can see, a much broader, a comprehensive definition that constitutes what exactly is ethics. Let's go ahead. Ethics, again, I have spoken about this. Ethics is not just an academic discipline. It is something we live with day in and day out. And it is this element I want all of you to bring into your answer sheet. And for that, you need to have a broad picture. Again, something, if I speak abstractly, then that doesn't make any sense. Whatever I'm speaking, you should be able to collect it. You should be able to bring it in your answer sheets again. So how you can bring ethics around different activities we do into our answer sheet? Let's take an overview. So this is again a very recurring questions. Different variants of this question you can find in more number of years, like what ethics promotes in social life. So a little bit of variance of this question. These are very recurring questions. What does ethics seeks to promote in human life? Exactly what does it promotes? Now I want you to at least think for a while what answer you are going to write. What is ethics going to promote? Ethics seek to promote in our human life. Try to brainstorm answer for 2 minutes. Then we will have this discussion continuing. Now tell me, how many of you, what is our standards, thumb rule? 10 marker, 10 points. How many of you thought that generating 10 points for this is too big a ask? I can generate 3 points, 4 points. Then I'll have to make jugaad, connect to and make another point, or in some other words, changing the example, write one more point. To develop 10 distinct points, that is absolutely a difficult task. Now, why this is difficult? Again, remember the answer tree we have discussed. It is difficult because what you are aiming is not the complete structure. What you are thinking into bring in your answer sheet is not this complete tree. What you want is only the fruits. I will take only these examples and bring it in my answer sheet and I will score XYZ marks. No, that's not the case. You have to have a certain approach, certain thought process. You need to have the branches. Focus on conceptual clarity we already have on what is ethics, what ethics constitutes. Ethics constitute judgment on human conduct. Ethics constitute the standards society places. Ethics constitutes the values and our guidelines. So we have our trunk. Where are the branches? So this is where you need to invest a little bit of your time. See, I will give you one guidance to solve this question. How many of you have seen this Maslow's hierarchy of needs? So this is very practical, very simple hierarchy which categorizes our needs under different heads. I know many of you might have already at least seen somewhere about this Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, what I need you is how many branches we have here if we apply these hierarchies into this answer. These are what a human being wants in life. Physical needs like air, water, food, shelter, comfort, temperature. Safety needs like protection, security, law, job, healthcare. Social needs like belonging, love, family, working groups. Self-esteem needs like respect, achievement, reputation. Self-actualization needs like personal growth, like fulfillment. Where exactly you will place yourself in this? Safety, social needs, self-esteem, or below that or above that? That's up to you. But how we can use this tool as a thought process for answering these questions? Take each levels. What is ethics? Role of ethics in addressing the physical needs, in addressing your basic needs like air, water, food, shelter, temperature. Now, can you generate at least 2 points on this section? Can you generate at least 2 points? How many of you have heard about the case of crackers ban on Diwali? Every Diwali regarding this November, October times, people go to Supreme Court and file their XYZ writ petitions that my right to life is being questioned by the huge level of pollution that is already there in Delhi, and about that people are bursting crackers. And either the government themselves or the Supreme Court comes out with their guidelines. From between this time only crackers can be done. All these kind of guidelines. Now what is happening here? And there will be political debate going on. Which is more important? Religious festival, which brings happiness to the people, which brings people together, and the part of celebration is crackers, or the consequences, or regulating, or you can say checking the negative consequences of this celebration. Which one should be given more important? Safety needs of some people are being hurt. Can you see this example? Another classic case. How many of you know about the ban on single-use plastic in India from 2022? So, single-use plastics are banned in India from 2022. Like you can see when the government imposed this ban. Now, there was mismanagement, there was critics against the government policies, not because this is not a, like you can say, a right step. Obviously plastic is creating so much of pollution. You might have seen a recent news where microplastics was found in testicles of some person. Especially if you are living in Delhi or cities, obviously the food you eat, the water you drink, any other XYZ activity you do, everything is getting loaded with microplastics. So banning plastics is need of the hour, absolutely a right step. But what is the problem? The problem is mismanagement. There are sectors, there are industries which can only do packaging in plastic. Only plastic work. There is no, even if I pay more, there is no right alternatives. You may speak about the biodegradable plastic. Where you need to bring that into the market. First bring that into the market. And plastic industry, this is not a very small industry. Almost everything we use have some or other applications of plastic. So what you need to think is, when you are banning, this industry is being hurt. People have invested their money, people are working there, women are working there. So these industries severely being punished. What is the strategies for sustainably managing all these changes? Again, a question of ethics, whether it is a right thing to do or wrong thing to do. I'm speaking too much on these government schemes. Anything you can see, distribution of resources. I think last year we had a case study on this, whether it is right to misallocate, or you can say reallocate funds from a welfare scheme to some infrastructure development or other schemes. Again, a question on safety, physical needs, ethical question on physical needs of people. If you move ahead, safety needs of people, healthcare, education, lot of ethical dimensions you can think in this. If I say you to generate 2 points, it's quite very easy. Social needs, belonging, love, family, work group. Do you think there is ethics as a role in all of these? Do you think you can be a better partner without being ethical? Do you think you can be a better friend without being ethical? Do you think when there is a conflict happening, do you think there is need for ethics to sustainably resolve this conflict? Do you think ethics is needed in your work life? We have this issue of moonlighting. What is your perspective on moonlighting? Moonlighting ethical? We have issues with mismanaging work-life balance. Do you think there should be some ethical considerations going into this? Self-esteem needs, respect, reputation, achievement. Do you think there should be some ethics in achievements? Or there was one quotation also. Do you think success requires sacrifice? Or can you measure success not by the result but by the sacrifices you have to make to achieve that success? Similarly, self-actualization, personal growth, fulfillment, role of ethics. Practically very easy. If you remember this much of structure, this much of branching, bringing in the 10 points, it's become an absolute cakewalk. Let's move ahead. So let's see how you can integrate ethics from almost anything and everything. Mythology. I think all of you, in one way or the other, are exposed to mythology. Tell me, we have Ram Mandir being, you can say, reconstructed recently. And there have been so much of news regarding Ram Mandir and all other associated things. What values Rama upholds? What value come to your mind first? Why he is called an ideal person? You might remember this saying, like, if you consider the life of Rama, he born as a prince to be the king. Then, due to fulfill XYZ promise of his father, he was pushed into exile, living for next 14 years. Now he's been accompanied by his wife, his brother. From there he lost his wife. Then he has to fight a whole big war to get back his wife. Then when we get back his wife, he came back and became king. He has to give the orders to kill his wife, to uphold certain dharma or duty. This is absolutely not the definition of a successful life. But still, why you can see Rama is celebrated. Why Rama is considered as an ideal person? Because in every walks of his life, he upheld dharma. He stick to his dharma. He was not swayed by external surroundings or happenings or the results or the consequences. He was obviously very clear on what his dharma as a son, what is his dharma as a husband, what is his dharma as a king. And in every responsibilities of life, he has followed this dharma. Let me speak about Yudhishthira. How many of you know Yudhishthira, who was the eldermost brother of Pandavas? Now he is also known as Dharmaraja. Why he is called as Dharmaraja? Because of his strong reliance, or you can say strong focus on ethical principles. You might take some examples from the lives of Yudhishthira. Remember the dice game he played with Kauravas, where he lost his kingdom, where he even lost the dignity of Draupadi. Now, when all of this was happening, do you know when he was called to play this game of dice, he was already well aware that this is going to be a deceitful game. There has been malpractices done with the dices, that it will only come in certain way that will not be in support of Pandavas. Now, still knowing this, why he gone for this challenge? Because he is a man of duty. It was as a Kshatriya, as a king, it was his responsibility to accept the challenge. So despite knowing that this can harm him, he accepted that because that was his dharma. Lot of other characters. You can see Bhishma, who took a particular vow, brahmacharya and celibacy, and strictly adhere to it. It shows his loyalty towards family, loyalty towards kingdom. You can see this in lives of Krishna. Krishna is what Krishna is offering. Krishna is not just a god. What ethical philosophy is offering? He's offering again what is his advice to Arjuna. Perform one's duties without thinking or without attaching yourself with results. That is the end advice. That is the crux of whole Bhagavad Gita that Krishna advises to Arjuna. Similarly, Karna, anti-hero of Mahabharata, can see the importance of loyalty, generosity in acts of Karna. Despite knowing that Pandavas are his brothers, he still stood with Duryodhana. because he was a loyal friend. You can see the generosity of Karna in giving his armor when Indra, disguised or dressed up as Brahmana, came before him and requested his armor. You can see his generosity. You already know the war is going to happen and he will require his armor. But he never had a second thought in whether to give this or not. Lot of characters I have already discussed, but this is not the end of it. Eklavya, who was a victim of, again, caste even in mythological times. Sita, Draupadi, what are the ethical values that come to your mind when we speak about these people? Hanuman, even Hanuman has its own ethical way of seeing things. So mythology, especially Indian mythology, not just, you don't want to stop it at Hinduism, you can go at Jataka tales, you can go at Islam, Hadith and all other stories. These are highly enriching. There is diversity of character. You can use these characters, bring these characters into your answer writing. And how you can bring these? You cannot connect if a question comes on anything, whether it is a social life, whether it is on particular values. It is very difficult to think about Karna or Duryodhana or Arjuna or Krishna exactly sitting in the exam hall. For that, you need to prepare accordingly in your workbook for every part of the syllabus where you can refer to Krishna, write about Krishna. In one sentence, write about which value of Krishna or Rama or Karna or any other mythological character, what value you are going to speak about. Write these in your workbooks. When you're preparing the content, prepare along with these mythological examples. Then it will strike in your head. Then you can bring these into your answer sheet. It will not come from like simply thinking. You see the question and you brainstorm it and you think about a story and find its relevance there. No, you have to prepare accordingly. Add whatever I have spoken, whatever characters you already know. Always remember, you don't need to write a paragraph. Write in 1 line, 2 line max. The story, the context, the character, the ethical argument, everything in 1 or 2 lines. You need to learn to exhibit this, present this in 1 or 2 lines. Now, not just a mythology, the stories. You can see again, like mythology, the Indian culture is enriched by stories. Folk stories, Panchatantra stories, Akbar and Birbal, Tenali Raman. These are some of the examples. I mean, it is not that if you are not if you don't have fascination for these stories, I'm not forcing you to learn 100 stories and write it in your ethics paper. But if you are somebody who is interested in stories, who can recollect, you can present some stories, do work on it. Some of the folk stories you already may be aware about your place you are coming, about the culture there. Try to remember 1 or 2 stories. Or take some famous stories from Panchatantra stories or something like this. This will be very handy, not just in ethics, in your essay paper also. Movies, at least I am very sure all of you watch some or the other movies. I know this prelims, mains, interview, this cycle is demanding and you might not be getting too much of time of late to watch movies, but at least you may be watching 1 or the other movies. Bring these movies. I'm a person who is watch too much of movies in too much of languages. Whenever I write an ethics paper, there will be mention of movies here and there. Bring these movies into what these 2 movies are about. Both the movies are speaking about gender ethics. And we have 2-3 questions directly asked from gender ethics. Bring the case of stereotyping you can see in these Lapita ladies. Bring the case of domestic violence, the woman. Dignity, importance of dignity that the movie Thappat is speaking about. Bring this into your answers when questions come from gender ethics. Caste. A lot of times we get this question from caste ethics. How to handle caste, how to mishandle caste, relation of caste with politics, politicization of caste, casteization of politics. Lot of ethical questions can come from these. Very important movie, Article 15, J. Beam. This is just, I'm just giving you a preview. What I want is, I don't want you to even write these movies. Whatever movies you have seen, at least all of you might have seen 10 movies in your life. Recollect these 10 movies. Where you can place in the ethics syllabus, write it. You don't need a huge collection of movies. You just need 5 to 10 movies. And a question comes in the exam. At least in 2-3 questions, you give references of the movies. That's it. That brings uniqueness. These are something that inspired you. That's something that moved you. So keep a check on all of these. Think on which characters in which movie have really caught your attention. And try to bring this person on different syllabus heads. Sometimes it may be a civil servant officer, like a police officer story is being told in Article 15. So you can see values of a civil servant, you can add that. Well, JBM is more or less talking about social justice. So it should be come a question on recently. There was a question on last year. There was a question on, I think, social capital. So JBM is a very much good fit on answering this question. Introduction, you can bring the exam, the aspect of JBM. And JBM, the beam is not, beam is always Ambedkar, Bhim Rao Ambedkar. Ambedkarite ethics always come in handy when whether a question come directly or not. There are quotes, there are life of Ambedkar, so much of importance from ethics point of view. Similarly, the personalities you admire, whether it is Ratan Tata or whether it is Abdul Kalam or Steve Jobs or maybe from sports, say MS Dhoni or Virat Kohli. I'm not specifically saying you to write this, but again, like movies, list 10 persons you actually admire, or you can even list 10 persons you really don't admire or you really dislike. Put where it's in this ethics syllabus. You can write about APJ Abdul Kalam. You might have seen about the resilience and struggle of APJ Abdul Kalam when he failed to qualify the pilot test. Out of 10 people, 21 people, something like that, who have attended the interview, 20 people were selected. Only APJ Abdul Kalam was not selected. Now he was living with this childhood dream of becoming a pilot, and this was crushed into pieces. Young Abdul Kalam was disgusted, disappointed. From this he recollected himself, built himself. In SLV-3 launch failure in 1979, something which people still remember Abdul Kalam about. When the launch failed, Abdul Kalam, single-handedly, a young officer in ISRO, took all the blames of the failures and he praised his team in front of media. That shows ethical leadership. Question on leadership, cite APJ Abdul Kalam. Ratan Tata. What was Tata Nano project all about? It was not simply, let's make a smaller car and give a competition to WagonR, let's make more money. That was not the objective of this Tata Nano projects. It was embedded in an altruistic objective, that is to provide a much safer modes of transportation for the masses. It is with this noble vision, this inclusive vision, Tata has started this Tata Nano project. You might have still aware, Tata still doesn't enter into motorcycle segment. Why they are not entering into motorcycle segment? Not because they don't have the expertise, they don't have the capacity to. Obviously, they have the capacities, but they think it is not as safer as a four-wheeler. Again, Tata as a group, when we study CSR, corporate social responsibility, we'll see a lot of examples. What Tata is all about, it is about trustworthiness. Have you seen the Chroma store? Have you seen Zudio? If you have visited any Chroma store, most Chroma store, before entering or somewhere here and there will be a board or there will be some icon placed. A Tata group, you can see a Tata group like symbol. Now, why this one symbol is bringing in element of trustworthiness. People associate Tata group with trustworthiness. Now, this is not something that is built even by Ratan Tata or one Tata Nano project or any one XYZ act. This, how they build this, that is by upholding ethics, upholding standards, upholding values in doing business over, say, more than 100 years. It is the reputation that is built through ages, through generations. You can see the importance of ethics. You can take the case of Steve Jobs. You can take the case of MS Dhoni, Virat Kohli. I don't care who exactly are you taking, but identify the peoples, what values they stood for. Take some happenings, events from their life, and try to bring these into your answer writing. Again, identify 10 such people, maybe 7 people you admire, 3 people you dislike or don't admire. Bring that into your answers. Take the Salman Khan, why you don't admire him? Just giving you some ideas. The books you read. Very interesting book I read recently, The Good Indian's Guide to Queue Jumping. A lot of it questions, lot of normalized unethical activities we do in our daily life. Similarly, I'm not saying you to read these books and bring things into your table. At least in your life you have read any books. If nothing you have read something for the optionals. If there is an ethical element regarding that, bring that into your ethics paper. That is all what I'm requesting. Similarly, the UPSC syllabus from history, society, political governance, international relations, economy, science and technology, environment, internal security. When you're studying all these subjects, try keep an eye on what can be the ethical dimensions, what can be the ethical aspects that I can include in this. Similarly, when you read your newspapers, I want you to see, keep your mind, the speaking tree. How many of you read this speaking tree in Times of India? See the article, Buddha was a social philosopher. Sometimes you get very interesting articles, philosophical articles, very practical articles, sometimes questioning values. Read that. If you're not even reading for any specific purpose, when you are casually reading, you got something interesting, you got something that is related to your ethics syllabus, add that into your notebook. All of you have social media accounts, Instagram, in X, that is Twitter, in Facebook, a lot of other social media. And I know many of you will be struggling to manage your time, how much time to spend, or am I overspending my time on social media? All of this may be obviously hurting a lot of you. Now, this is a cheat code I'm giving you. Go into social media, and follow different organizations like IMF, like World Economic Forum, like United Nations Human Rights Council, United Nations Security Council, like UNICEF, like think tanks, like Niti Aayog in India. We have global think tanks on security, global think tanks on international relations. Follow the pages of these groups. And when you're spending social media, you will get, I know, so much of articles from these. And most of the articles will not be that much related to a syllabus. But often you will get some perspectives, you will get some articles that you can sometimes relate with civil servant values, that you can relate with corporate ethics, that you can relate with personal values. Then you note it down, bring that into your ethics. Take a screenshot and leave it. When you get time, you go add it into your workbooks. When you travel in metro, when you travel in train. This is something, a cheat code I want you to implement. So we have where these examples should come from. Again, from everything you read, everything you have done, everything you have experienced, all these should find a place in your ethics notes, ethics answers. So when we look at examples, what examples I should write, it should not come from the material, the compilation that any XYZ coaching institute is providing you. It should come from these things. It should come from your life, mythology, from stories, movies, books, personalities, our syllabus, newspaper, social media. It is when you can bring these things in your answer sheet, your preparation becomes complete, your preparation becomes excellent. On that note, let's move ahead. Let's discuss the next major topic, that is ethics versus morality. If we look at the previous year papers, you can see some of the recurring themes which compares the subject of ethics with morality, with law, with values, with religion. As values, we are already having a separate class or a separate syllabus heading. We will discuss it then and there. Let's discuss what you should write or how you should prepare when ethics in comparison with any other subject. What should come into your mind? Again, go back to our answer writing tree. You need the trunk of conceptual clarity. You need the branching to make your answers multidimensional. You need then the fruits, the leaves, which are the substantiating elements, the examples. So what are the aspects which you should look out, which you should focus on? See the 5 different topics that is being discussed here. First one, that is the definition, which is the conceptual understanding that differentiates ethics and morality, or ethics and per se any other subject. Then the nature, then source of ethics or source of morality, then enforcement, then scope and application. So let's try to put this into perspective through understanding what is the major differences between ethics and morality. So the first difference, let me start with an example. As we already discussed, littering. We discussed the case of littering, which almost every one of you said that this is obviously ethically wrong. Now let me ask you some more examples. Is caste system or the practice of caste system in any of its form a right thing or a wrong thing? I know most of you, or almost all of you, go with the opinion that caste system is absolutely a wrong thing, horrible thing. Now take the case of dowry practice. Is it a right thing or a wrong thing? Again, I got the same results, a horrible thing, a very wrong thing. Okay, I absolutely accept with you. You have this perspective, caste system or dowry system or say sati pratha. These are highly wrong things or highly unethical things. Take a step back. Okay, sati pratha, we almost eliminated it from our society. But do we eliminate caste system? caste system in different forms is still existing in our society. You might have come across the politicization of caste, castization of politics. B.R. Ambedkar, what B.R. Ambedkar envisaged is a casteless society. Many of his affirmative policies, including reservation, these are leading to crystallization of caste in today's society. You can see even the caste undertones in cities like Delhi or Jaipur or so. Caste, despite being an unethical thing, this is very much in a subtle form existing in the society. Same goes with the dowry system. Despite having a clear understanding that this is unethical, this is wrong, still in some form, as a gift, as some other modified, whitewashed form, this is still existing in the society. Where is the differentiation? At one place you are saying that these are unethical practices. On the other hand, the society, at least some elements or some significant elements of the society, does things that this is obviously part of the society, or normalize this, or you can say they consider it as even ethical things or right things. Where goes your differentiation? Now, what you can understand here is when we see a society, when we take a society and look at what does this society considers as right and wrong, and this includes a lot of things which you can accept, which you cannot accept. Now, what we see in this society, this is what is morality of the societies. If you're looking at a society, if you're looking at a religion, that is the morality of the religion. If you're looking at a community, that is the morality of that community. If you look at the specific age, that is the morality of that age. Now, today, how you can reach the conclusion that caste system is wrong or dowry is wrong? You are basically comparing it with certain standards, or say, you can say certain values and principles. What are these values and principles? That is equality, that is justice. It is because caste system violates the principles of equality, it violates the principles of justice. That's why we consider caste system or discrimination based on caste as an unethical practice. Similarly, it is because it violates the principle of gender equality or humanity, humane practices, inhumanities. That's why we oppose dowry system, or we consider it as unethical. So when we speak about ethics, there is always a comparison, a contrast, which is made in comparison with certain principles, which at times can be universal principles, which at times can be societal principles also. While morality, we are not making this comparison. This analytical part is absent in morality. What in morality we are looking at is, we're simply looking at what is the sense of rightfulness or wrongfulness. Individual morality, we look at the sense of rightfulness and wrongfulness of an individual. Here comes the major differentiation. Let's read the definition. Ethics, systematic study of principles that guide right and wrong conduct, obviously. Morality, a set of personal or societal beliefs about what is right and what is wrong. Again, both these are looking at the same thing, but how it is being looked, how it is being perceived, here comes all the difference. Ethics is analytical, ethics is rational, ethics is reflective, involves systematic evaluation of actions and principles, while this evaluation is absent in morality. Morality is intuitive, morality is emotional, morality is unquestioned many times. You got the difference? Ethics is more like a scientific disciplines. Ethics is normative disciplines which gives people a clear instruction. This is the set of standards we believe as a society. This is a set of standards that we ought to achieve as an individual. Ethics is the standards we try to achieve. We try to be honest. We try to be good with the people. We try to be a good individual. This is something we aspire to become. While morality, that is something what we are. Morality is not normative, morality is descriptive. It is simply describing what you are. Similarly, what is the source of ethics? It is derived from universal principles, philosophical rationale and theories, professional codes and legal standards. All this influences the ethics. Similarly, what is the source of morality? It is more personal, it is cultural, it is traditional, it is religious, it is personal upbringing. All this impacts morality. Enforcement. Ethics is more or less enforced through formal channels like laws, professional codes, organizational policies, even personal ethics that is implemented through personal integrity, personal means. Whereas morality that is enforced informally through social sanctions, cultural norms, personal conscience. These are the elements that tends to enforce what is morality. You might have seen somebody who is violating the conscience of society or the morality of the society. Intercaste marriages. Why intercaste marriages are still not accepted in the society? So that government has to offer money or some other allowances to the people doing intercaste marriage. Why this is being promoted, or why there is need for support? Because people who are violating the morality of the society, they will face reflections, they will face the issues, the society will isolate them, society will try to punish them, bring them back into their terms. So this is completely not based on any universal standard. Say the case of Shabarimala verdict. While Shabarimala verdict, the women of a certain ages, that is from age group of 10 to 55, are not allowed to enter the temple. Now, this set of people who follow this deity, they actually believe this is the right thing to do. And this is not a discriminatory practice. They don't consider it as a discriminatory practice. But what the Supreme Court does? Supreme Court doesn't look at what is the collective morality. Supreme Court try to compare it with the constitutional morality, and Supreme Court says this practice is not violative of constitutional morality, and this was declared discriminatory or against fundamental rights, and it was like nullified by Supreme Court verdict. Same goes with this LGBTQ judgment. What happened to this LGBTQ judgment? Recently, we have in 2018, we have this decriminalization of section 377 of IPC. Again, are LGBTQs societally accepted? No, they are not societally accepted. They still feels discrimination. They still faces exploitation. But that doesn't stop them from enjoying their rights, enjoying their citizenship. That is what Supreme Court does in that case. Again, you can see morality that is descriptive, that looks at what is there existing in the society, while ethics, it compares it with some universal standards. You can see the fundamental difference between ethics and morality. While ethics is broad and universal, it seeks to establish general principles applicable across different situations and cultures. On the other hand, morality is very much narrow and specific of one particular community, culture, religion. So while you can see the Parda system, which is a morally right thing to do within Islam, but it is limited to that Islam religion only. Even maybe some sects of Islam religion only. Outside that, it doesn't have any meaning. But ethics is not that, like that. Ethics is more universal and broad. Every activity, as one or the other, comes under the scanner of ethics. This is the broad classification between ethics and morality. While ethics is a systematic study, its basis is on analytical, rational and reflective, derived from universal principles, philosophical rationale. It is enforced through formal sanctions, laws, professional codes, and ethics is broad and universal and encompasses all walks of life. Whereas morality is also a set of principles, beliefs, societal beliefs of what is right and what is wrong. It is more like a descriptive science. It is intuitive, emotional and unquestioned. It is derived from cultural, traditional, religious, personal upbringing, etc. It is enforced through informal sanctions, cultural norms, and personal conscience. It is narrow and specific, often particular to a religion, a community, a section of people, etc. This is the broad differentiation between ethics and morality. Now let's talk about the next major class of differentiation, that is between ethics and law. Again, what is ethics? A system of moral principles guiding individual behavior and decision making. Whereas what is law? A system of rules and guidelines enforced by institution to regulate behavior. Now, what is law? Law is very clearly codified code of conduct which categorizes human conduct under two different sections: permissible and impermissible, legal and illegal. While we come to ethics, what is the basis of ethics? We told the basis of ethics is rational analysis, reason, human rationale, which is expressed through different philosophical theories. These forms the foundation of ethics. While where does law come from? Law comes from social contract. Law comes from people's sanctity. By social contract, what is social contract? Democracy is one of the best forms of social contract. What happens in democracy? We combine as a people, we vote to certain peoples to govern us for a specific period of time. So through the social contract of democracy, we are giving these people the right to govern us. And this right to govern us is the basis of law. It is based on this. Parliament can make laws. It is based on this social contract. State legislature or any body that is authorized to make laws can make laws is based on this. So the basis of law and ethics are completely different. I'm not saying law is not rational. Obviously, law is rational. Otherwise, people will question the law. We have seen people protesting against the Citizenship Amendment Act, because a huge section of the people considers that this law is not right. Electoral bond, which was a law passed by the parliament, but Supreme Court came up with these and declared it null and void. So it is because this law is not rational or not in the interest of the people or not in line with certain principles. But obviously law is rational, but the authority, the source, that comes from the social contract, not from the reason rational. Reason rational is the features of the law, not the source of the law. While ethics is derived from these reasons, rational and analytical thinking. Law is derived from constitutions, statutes, regulations, judicial rulings, enforcement. Ethics is enforced through self-regulation, peer pressure, professional bodies, like even laws are a means to implement ethics. On the vice versa also, ethics also influences laws. For example, we have very strong anti-caste discrimination laws like Article 17. Now it is the ethical thought that lead to formulation of these laws. On the other hand, law also guide ethics. It is the principles of like prevention of atrocities against Scheduled Caste Act. Very stringent provisions have been provided to prevent atrocities. It also guides the ethical thought of the society. Again, scope. Again, ethics is broad, often context specific, applying to almost all walks of life, including personal and professional life, while law is specific, codified, and applying uniformly within a legal jurisdiction. So law has very specific where it can be applied. Certain laws that is applicable within the jurisdiction of India. For example, the Domestic Violence Act. Men cannot go and file a Domestic Violence Act against a woman, because this law is applicable only to specific gender. Law can have its specific jurisdiction. Only within this jurisdiction this law is applicable. It may be having specific societies, specific gender, specific, very specific contextual application law has. While ethics, as we know, ethics encompasses in every walks of life and it's much broader. So these are the basic fundamentals of classification. I hope you got a fair idea of differentiation between ethics and law. Go ahead. Third topic we are going to discuss today is ethics versus religion. Now, religion, what exactly is religion? Ethics, again, set of standards. You can define it as a moral conduct, human conduct, study of human conduct from the perspective of rightfulness, wrongfulness, or a set of standards the society enforces on itself, or a study of values and principles, guidelines that guides our behavior. What religion? Religion involves a system of beliefs, practices and values centered around a spiritual or divine elements, often providing moral guidance. Again, religion has a moral function. Religion also played a very big role in forming our morality. But religious basis, again, differences comes in the basis, in the nature. What ethics seeks to establish is universal moral principles. It is, I already told, ethics is normative. It is what we try to achieve. By religion, very significantly, it is based on religious tradition, some textbook definitions, from guidance of certain people. Sikhism based on Guru Nanak, Islam based on Quran and principles followed by Prophet Muhammad. Hinduism, it's based on many texts like Bhagavad Gita, like Vedas, Upanishads. So these are the sanctity. You might have heard about or learned this school of thought of Arya Samaj. What is the school of thought of Arya Samaj? Vedas are infallible, or Vedas are like highest forms of authority. So the basic of religion, that is the authority that is given to God, that is given to maybe messenger of God, that is given to different avatars of God, that is given to textbooks or certain books written by God. This is the crux of religion. While ethics, it is based on reason, rationality, analytics, completely different arena. Ethics is scientific. Religion, how it is imposed. Ethics is imposed through professional codes, through personal management, personal guidance. These are the ways ethics is enforced. Religion, enforced through faith, enforced through fear psychosis many a times. So based on sacred text, religion, divine revelations and spiritual traditions and enforcement. Adherence often expected within religious communities, sometimes with social or spiritual consequences for non-compliance. Scope, again, ethics is much broader, while religion is highly less flexible and moral directives often seen as absolute, divine and complete. Ethics, you can see, it's never as a scientific discipline. It can never considered as an end in itself. None of the ethical principles are absolute. There are terms, there are quantifications, there are certain contexts where these all ethical principles can be questioned. For example, honesty. Honesty is highest moral virtue. When people speak about the importance of practicing honesty in every walks of life, in personal life, in professional life. But are there any situations where honesty should be compromised? You might have seen a recent case in Florida where there was school, again a shooter came into the school with a gun and started firing into the classrooms. And there was some teacher who lost her life. And she hid her students inside some small cabin and informed this XYZ guy that there was no student in the class. Obviously, it is a lie. You can consider it as a white lie. Now, it is not a time for you to go and practice honesty. Obviously, honesty is very important virtue, but we have contexts where it is not the most important thing to be followed in life. For everything, this is an extreme case. We have spy work, spy people who have been sent to different countries. What they are doing is they are doing their duty to serve their nation based on nationalism, based on pride. So they may not be a person who violates privacy or do the spy in real life, but due to their job is that they have to do that. So ethics is never absolute. While when we speak about religious postulates, most of the religions are absolute. The commandments under Bible, that is absolute. Commandments under Quran, that is absolute. There is nothing to add or take from this. This is never the case with ethics. I hope you got a clear understanding of comparison between ethics and religion. Let's discuss some of the questions. This is a 2023 questions. Differentiate moral intuition from moral reasoning with suitable examples. I know many of you have difficulty in answering this question. Why you have difficulty in answering this question? See, moral intuition, moral reasoning is asked. Most of you have studied a collection of definitions. And moral intuition and moral reasoning, that never comes in any of your collection of definitions provided to you by the institutes. And you are fizzled out. You cannot answer this question correctly. Even if you answer, you cannot think multidimensionally. You cannot generate our thumb rule, that is to generate 10 points for this. This is problem. This is where we can apply the principles we have studied. That is the mind map tree. What you should think on. We have moral intuition and moral reasoning. Moral reasoning is more like ethics. This is speaking about ethics. Moral intuition, this is more like morality. I'm not saying exactly it is morality, but this is an advanced version of comparing ethics and morality. And so same principles apply here. On what parameters you should compare this? Definition, on nature, on source, on enforcement and scope or application. Same parameters you can apply to these questions. 5 parameters, we have 2 points for each. You will get easily cross over 10 points. Can you see how easy it is if you have a mental framework? Concepts, you are already very clear what is ethics, what is morality. Simply has to bring it and apply here. Let's understand. Moral intuition. This is more like morality. It is immediate. It is instinctive judgment about what is morally right or wrong without any conscious deliberation. Again, there is no standard analysis to decide what is moral intuition or what is right or what is wrong. This is an instinctive judgment we make. While moral reasoning, this is more like ethics. It requires analysis. It is deliberate, logical process of evaluating moral issues by considering principles, consequences, context. An example, feeling it is wrong when you are cheating on a test without even thinking why you are feeling wrong. Many times you cheat on a test or you do something bad, instantly feel bad. That is what is moral intuition is about. By moral reasoning is something totally different. It is analyzing whether it is permissible to break a promise by considering consequences. Again, when we speak about mythology, many of you have already spoken about Bhishma. What Bhishma is famous for? About his pratishtha or about his vow of celibacy. Vow is not just limited to Bhishma. We also have at some point of life taken some vows. Now, is it right to break a vow? Obviously, like our litter question, like our dowry question, it is not right thing to break a vow. But on the other hand, there you cannot take this also as an absolute fact. There may be situations you should take a break from the vow. You should violate your own vow. And that basis should comes from deliberate analysis. Is it right? Is it morally right for you to continue with the vow? Or is it continuing with the vow extremely difficult for you? Or it leads to very unpleasant consequences? By doing all this analysis, you should reach a conclusion whether it is right to continue with the vow or to break the vow. Now here there is need for reasoning, there is need for deliberate analytical context come into picture. This is what is moral reasoning is. Nature. Moral intuition is spontaneous, emotional, and often subconscious. For example, reacting with disgust to the idea of harming an innocent animal. While moral reasoning is analytical and reflective, involves conscious thought. Now, when we speak about animal rights or harming of animals, again, what is our moral intuition? Harming of animals is wrong. Obviously, it is wrong. But do we actually need animals, harming animals? Have you studied or have you read about a recent law passed in USA that completely bans use of live animals in testing of medicines, in testing of vaccines, on all of this? Live animals are banned from this. Instead of, they can use this lab made organs, 3D printed organs, all these for doing this test. Do not test on live animals. But live animals testing is wrong. But what if it addresses a greater purpose? COVID-19 came, the whole world was suffering, the whole world was dying. We need vaccines. There are so many other diseases where people are absolutely suffering. We need to develop vaccines. We need to develop safer vaccines. And testing on animals, it's one of the feasible, that has done its purpose, feasible ways of developing vaccines. Now, which one you should give the preference to? Animal rights or our need for developing medicines, vaccines, and all of these? Now, here needs balancing, here needs rational thought. We cannot simply say what we say out of intuition, that is harming an animal is wrong. Obviously, it is wrong. But ethical reasoning, if there is context attached to this, it requires more analytics, it requires more analysis to be done. Source of moral intuition, that is based on innate feelings, emotion, social conditioning. Child feels wrong to steal because it makes them feel bad. What is the basis of moral reasoning? Source of moral reasoning based on ethical theories, principles, rational deliberation. Example, a judge considers legal precedents, moral principles, and potential outcomes before making a ruling. So this is how you should proceed. What I given you is not just something you can apply in ethics, morality, ethics law, or ethics religion. Compare any two things which have similar undertone. We have a corporate governance questions which compares efficiency and ethical conduct, something like this. So since that was asked in specific context of corporate governance, we have to follow another frameworks. But that question can also have a general overtone. So you can use these comparison tools. You can use these approaches to compare, to generate points for in each and every aspects.